Hello children, welcome back. So which lesson have we started and we were continuing? So it was all about Kathmandu, if I am not wrong, written by Vikram Seth. So by now we have finished 2 modules of it. So in the first module we have come across one of the very popular religious places, that is Pashupatinath temple. We have got the description all about. Then in the second module, of course, about the Buddha stupa also Vikram Seth has described. And he has given us the very detailed description about both the places, and also he made a very good comparison also. Whereas he has just said that the whole of ambience around the Pashupatinath temple was so crowded and noisy, whereas when it comes to the Buddhanath stupa, that is Buddhist place, it was so serene, like having calmness and quietness around, though the roads were busy. So this is how he has said all this. And he also said that he was coming back from China to India, and on the way back home he visited Tibet and also Nepal, and in Nepal he had visited Kathmandu, and that's how he could see these 2 places. And then he also had an idea to visit other places in India also. They're like he thought of having a glance at the Ganges river, and also Varanasi, that is Benares, then Allahabad, then Yamuna river also, then Delhi, Agra, Taj Mahal, whatnot. But he said that he's homesick and he would like to fly home back. That's how he has taken the flight ticket from Nepalese Airlines. If I'm not wrong, we have completed till this. Am I right, children? So quickly get ready with your textbooks and also have your running notes along. Let's continue and also conclude the lesson. And here we go with paragraph 6. Page number 130. So as soon as he has booked the flight ticket, he's continuing. I look at the flute seller standing in the corner of the square near the hotel. In his hand is a pole with an attachment at the top from which 50 or 60 basuris protrude in all directions. So now he is giving the description of one of the flute sellers. Maybe that, it could have grabbed his attention towards the flute seller. Maybe he's a lover of flute and also music. Then he says that he has seen one of the flute sellers there, where he was holding it, having a big pipe kind of a thing in his hand, and there were around 60 different basuris. So basuri is a Hindi word, children. Basuri means flute. And that is near the hotel where he resided in. Like the quills of a porcupine. So he's just comparing the way the flutes were put as a bunch, around. Like, they were protruding out of that. Like, if at all you see the water fountain, children, if at all the water is forcefully sent upward, then it starts spreading. As soon as it reaches to some extent of the height, then it starts spreading all around. That is 360 degrees, like a flower when it blooms, So similarly, even he could find the same way. The flute seller was holding one of the pipes, to which all the, around 60 flutes were put all around like a bunch of flowers. Then he's comparing it as like the quills of a porcupine. So porcupine is a wild animal, children, which has got, prickly spikes kind of a thing on its own body. So you can surf through, and you can also definitely give a glance at, it looks like a wild rat, if I'm not wrong. So porcupine is nothing but an animal which has got a prickly, like a thorny spikes, so all around, it looks like a big flower, thorny flower, that animal. So he's comparing the way the flute seller was carrying the flutes by tying to one of the pipes which he was holding in his hand. It was looking like a quills on the body of the porcupine animal. And they are of bamboo, and as you all know, flutes were made up of what material, children? It's of course bamboo. And there are cross flutes and recorders also. And also what were there? Cross flutes and also recorders. From time to time he stands the pole on the ground, selects a flute and plays for a few minutes. So how is he making the people to know that he's selling the flutes, children? Of course by playing the flutes only. As he was holding the pipe in his hands, he can just keep moving from one place to another. So whenever, like after taking some gap for a while, then again he puts it on the floor. Then he takes one of the flutes and he starts playing the music with one of the flutes. That's how he would like to grab the attention of the people, move around. Then the sound rises clearly above the noise of the traffic and the hawker's cries. So it is so dominant. The way the flute seller is playing the flute is so melodious, and it is trying to dominate even the cries of the hawkers also, the vendors, the street vendors, whatever the way they were crying out, and even hustle bustle sound, as it was hence it was a very busy road. So even then, the way he was playing the music was dominating all these other sounds, and everybody was just concentrating and everybody was just paying their attention towards the music played. And he plays slowly and also meditatively. Meditatively is nothing but like thoughtfully, having an idea in his mind, not like vaguely he takes one of the songs and he just keeps on playing it. No, with a very prepared mind, very calm, with like having a very calm mind, he plays very slowly without excessive display. He does not want to display so much. So he would like to grab the attention with the melody of his music which he plays by using the flutes. And he does not shout his wares. He doesn't need to shout, in fact, because it is the musical instrument which is being sold there by him, right, children? So he doesn't need to shout like flutes kind of a thing. He doesn't need to make much sound there. But whereas he can directly play one of the flutes to grab the attention of the customers. And occasionally he makes a sale, but in a curiously off-handed way, as if this were incidental to his enterprise. Like, when Vikram Seth was observing him, he also made an observation that he is not very much crazy and very much hurried to sell all the flutes, whatever he has. Very casually, off-handed, they said, no. He was not that eager or desperate to make all the flutes to be sold at once. He was not in that crazy kind of a thing, hurry-burriedly. He was not selling out. He was so cool and he was so thoughtful. He was just he was not crying out loudly for his wares, what he was selling and all. Very thoughtfully, softly, he was just playing the music, and very off-handedly, in the sense he's taking minimum break, and here and there occasionally he was selling the flutes, not at once many. He was not trying to make good monetary gains out of his sales. Sometimes he breaks off playing to talk to the fruit seller. Then whenever he takes a break, whenever he stops playing the music and all, and we have already come to know that there are other fruit sellers also. He is a flute seller. There are other fruit sellers also. Then whenever he was taking a break, he used to get engaged in the conversation having with the fruit seller. And I imagine that this has been the pattern of his life for years. So Vikram Seth is saying maybe this is his practice which has been made by him since long years, because he is used to sell the same way since long years. This is what is the conclusion made by Vikram Seth. So the whole of 6th paragraph tells us about the way the flute seller was selling his wares. So wares are nothing but the flutes. And how were they looking? They were looking like quills on a porcupine. Porcupine is a wild animal, which has got the thorny, prickly spikes on its body. So it was looking like that. And the way how he was making his sales done also, he has just mentioned. Then 7th paragraph, children. I find it difficult to tear myself away from the square. Then he was so attached to the music which was being played by the flute seller. So maybe here we will need to understand that yes, Vikram Seth was definitely a music lover. So he was unable to tear myself. Tear is nothing but part himself. He was unable to go away from that place, as he was very much associated, very much attached to the music. So he was unable to move further, and he was just getting touched by the music played. Then flute music always does this to me. Yes, now he is confirming that of course he's a very music lover. So he says that yes, flute music played by the flute, of course I'm very much attached to it. It is at once the most universal and most particular of sounds. Then he describes the flute music as the most popular and worldwide famous music. There is no culture that does not have its own flute. So he says that worldwide, in every country, in every corner of the places of any of the countries, you see the flute. So that is the significance of this particular musical instrument, which is called flute. But maybe it is called with different names in different areas. So now you will come across the different varieties of flutes, and of course you will see one question asking you to describe about the varieties of flutes. So please, all of you, make a note of it in your running notes also. First one is the reed name. Second one is the recorder. Third one, the Japanese shakunchai. Fourth one, the deep bansuri of Hindustani classical music. So deep bansuri, we all know it about. The clear or breathy flutes of South America. The high-pitched Chinese flutes. So almost 5 varieties he has said about. The first one is the reed ney. Reed is nothing but, children, like usually, the long grass is called reed. So maybe as it has hollow part inside, then they make flutes by using the reeds also. So one is the reed ney. Another one is the recorder. Third one is the Japanese shakuhachi. So Japanese shakuhachi. Flute is called shakuhachi in Japanese language. Then Hindustani, our own Indian flute, is called basuri. Kishan Kanhaiya's basuri is very famous, am I right? So yes, basuri. The clear and the breathy flutes of South America. So in South America, of course, everybody uses the same thing, breathing in and breathing out only. You would go to play the music over the flute. Then high-pitched Chinese flutes. So high, like Chinese flutes, they even support the high pitch also. So if at all somebody exhales out, for a long time, even it reaches to the high pitch also. That significance is given to the Chinese flutes. And each has its signifying fingering, specific and compass. So he says that each has its specific fingering and compass. Compass is nothing but, here it means range and pitch. So as you all know, like how we have come across about Shehnai when I was teaching you the sound of music, children. Similarly here, it all depends on the way you move your fingers to close the holes and open the holes to make the music to be produced. So that's what he's saying, and also it makes the difference in the pitch also, pitch and range also. So compass here, it's not that what compass you know about the device which shows you the direction here. Compass means the range of the pitch. And it weaves its own associations. Yet to hear any flute is, it seems to me, to be drawn into the commonality of all mankind, to be moved by music closest in its phrases and sentences to the human voice. So he says that the music which has been played by using the flute, it associates people. It makes a kind of a love and an affection and a bond among the people globally without any phrases and sentences, because it has no words. You only listen to the music played, but there are no words, there are no sentences also. But even then, human voice is dominated by playing the flute, because human voice has definitely got the lyrics, that is words or phrases or sentences, and lines together we sing. But whereas here, when it comes to the musical instrument, children, it has no words, but only music. With the help of ragas, with the help of pitch, it does reach us all. So its motive force tool is living breath. It too needs to pause and breathe before it can go on. So of course he says that it's the flute, the music played by the flute is related to the life. Because when a person has to exist his life on the earth, he has to, the basic thing what he needs to do is breathe in and breathe out, of course, right? Similarly, even the span of the flute also has to have, the life of a flute also has to have breathe in and breathe out, because it has to do everything with exhaling and inhaling only. When the one who plays the flute, he has to exhale, which would definitely produce the sound. Am I right, children? So that is what is related with the breathe. So that I can be so affected by a familiar phrases on the basuri surprises me at first, for on the previous occasions that I have returned home after a long absence abroad, I have hardly noticed such details and certainly have not invested them with the significance I now do it. So he says that Vikram Seth, he had made many of his visits to many of the countries and different places, but as soon as he had visited these two places in Kathmandu, and especially once he had seen the flute seller, the way he was selling and the way he was melodiously playing the music and all, he felt it is so heart touching, and he felt that this is something special where he carried so many memories along, which he could not do it and which he did not do it before, though he had made many visits to different countries. Then he says that though the music only is played and no phrases, no words and no sentences, but I'm carrying so much of knowledge, so much of thing, because that music has touched his heart. So that's how and that's what he has said all about his visit as he was traveling from China to India. And it is only an extract taken, children. This is not the whole what he has written. It's only an extract, a part of it taken from the book what he has written called Heaven Lake. So I hope all of you have understood the lesson, children. This is all about Kathmandu. So quickly let's see the questions now and finish off the comprehension as well. Name the two temples the author visited in Kathmandu. Quick answers. 1, 2. Yes, Pashupatinath temple, Bodhanath stupa. I'm just giving you the words, but you will need to write a minimum of 3 lines, whereas you can just describe about the ambience of each one of those places. The writer says, all this I washed down with Coca-Cola. What does all this refer to? All this means all the eatables and drinks, whatever he mentioned, and also the Reader's Digest, the book, because the book has got the word in it as what? Digest. So funnily he has just added. So write that. What does Vikram Seth compare to the quills of porcupine? What did he compare with the quills of porcupine? The flutes which were tied to the pipe which the flute seller was carrying, compared with the quills of porcupine. So you can describe how does a porcupine having quills looks like also. And name 5 kinds of flutes. Whatever the flutes, 5 kinds of flutes were described here. Am I right, children? So one is reed ne, second one is recorder, third is Japanese shakuhachi. Please remember, as it is since it is a Japanese word, you will need to even by heart the spelling also, children. So shakuhachi, the deep basuri, Hindustani is Indian, is the basuri. Then beauty flute of South America, high pitched Chinese flutes. So you can just mention the names of all those. Then short paragraph. What differences did the author note between the flute seller and other hawkers? Flute seller was making his sales done with very calm, very thoughtful mind, and he was not noisy. First thing, he was not noisy, and he was using his talent of playing music by using his own flute, whereas all other hawkers were shouting aloud to sell their wares. What is the belief of Pashupatinath about the end of Kali Yuga? You will need to about the shrine which was sinking into the water of Bhagmati river, that you will need to. Once the goddess vanishes, Kali Yuga ends up. The author has drawn powerful images and pictures. Pick out 3 examples. Then what are all the things? This you will need to write of your own by reading the lesson. So this is all about the Kathmandu, children. And in the first module, you all please need to remember, first module it was all about the Pashupatinath temple which has been described. Second module it was all about Bodhanath stupa, and also he has given the differences and commonalities also. Third one about the flute seller and what sort of relation and association he had with flute seller, and what sort of memories he carried home also he mentioned here. Believe all of you are done with this, children. Then let's meet in the next session, before which I shall again remind you, please do attempt all the questions given in your worksheet. So see you till then, goodbye.